All set? Okay. We're going to open the October 2nd, 2017 Board of Selectmen meeting at 6:32. We stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we don't have any resident public comments tonight. After the events that happened in Las Vegas last night, we should offer a moment of silence for the victims and their families. Thank you. We also have a new minutes clerk starting tonight, so I can ask everyone to please speak clearly and loudly. If you are recognized to speak, please go up to the podium, state your name and your address for the record. I'll read the warrants. Motion to approve payroll warrant number 18-13 in the amount of $207,406.15.
I'll second that.
I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Motion to approve bill warrant number 18-13 in the amount of $1,007,351.53.
I'll second.
Second, any further discussion?
Get a breakdown?
Yeah,
Quick.
it's, majority of that is the Pentucket assessment, it's $772,000.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Next up, we have appointments. Appointment of Kathleen Bussell, 121 Main Street, to the Affordable Housing Committee through June 30th, 2018. Kathleen. Hi. Can you go up to the podium for us?
Sure.
Please state your name and your address.
Kathleen Bissell, 121 Main Street, Groveland.
And you are looking to be appointed to the Affordable Housing Committee.
I would.
I did look over your information. Does anybody have any questions for Kathleen?
No.
No? Everybody's good? Well, this is going to be easy. Anybody want to make a motion?
I make a motion that we accept Ms. Bussell's appointment to the Affordable Housing Committee through June 30th of 2018.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Easy. Congratulations. All right. Next up, we have appointment of 7 members to the Elm Park Committee through June 30th, 2018. Names appear in alphabetical order. So I guess we're going to take these one at a time. Scott, can you say your last name? Bacuzzo. Can you go up to the podium for us, please? So I'm just going to read your name again, right? Scott Bacuzzo, 1 Groveland Commons Way. So I looked over your information as well, and it looks like, let me pull that up. Did you have any background that you had experience in building or something? I'm trying to remember what
No, I
your
work,
email said.
I work in public safety.
Public safety, got it. Anybody have any questions for Scott? Bill?
Yes, Scott, Mr. Bacuzzo, what's your particular interest in this project, being on this committee, as opposed to the many committees and boards we have that needs volunteers?
I just look at it and I see it as something that's long overdue. It's in the best interest of the town, and it needs to happen. That's what I see.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Ed?
No, I'm all set, thank you.
Bill?
I'm good.
Lisa? Okay, someone make a motion? Oh, no.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll make a motion. We appoint Scott Bacuzzo to the Elm Square Committee through
Second?
June
Sorry.
30th, 2018.
Get a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Unanimous? All right, next up, we have Jim, wait, I'm going to try your last name. Cicatello? Cicatello, okay, Cicatello. Can you go up to the podium, please?
Hi, Jim Cicatello, 26 Round Street here in Groveland.
Anybody have any questions for Jim? Let's see. So you were the one, you had mentioned that during the bridge work, you wondered why that project wasn't kind of taken by eminent domain or some other state.
It seemed logical. I mean, the building, it's almost like it's landlocked now with the post office next door. I couldn't see a business redeveloping it. I thought there might be a better use for it, perhaps
Right.
green space, a park. It's a beautiful spot on the river. It's just an eyesore. I feel like no one buys the building, which I didn't think anyone would. It may sit there for years.
Right,
It
that's part of
personally
what the,
detracts from the town, from the entrance to the town.
that's part of what the committee's going to look into.
Yeah, and I
is
was, you know.
what the
stuff-
state had given as far as decrease in property value because of the bridge or eminent domain, and why wasn't it taken as part of the project, what can be done, so I agree, that was something that was probably kind of missed during that project.
Yeah, it seemed like it. It almost seems, to be honest, it almost seems like a blight now on the center of town, so, you know.
Right.
It's the main entryway coming in from Haverhill, people see that. You got the Elm Park there, and it's like they have that sitting there, so it's kind of like, is there something better we can be done with that? It's a great way to find out.
Great.
And you're aware that the post office is on that land?
Yes, yeah, I realized it was a part of that, and I found it interesting too, is I've been following the post office the last few years, and, there's been a lot of talk about post offices closing or moving or relocating, so it'd be interesting to see what the post office has in mind for that location. Hopefully it's gonna stay. I know I use it on a regular basis. I'm sure it's very convenient for the town, but who knows? So I'd be curious to see what becomes of that. Are they gonna relocate, or,
It'll be interesting to know what their lease agreement is for that property. I don't know if anybody knows that.
yeah. Definitely might be something the committee could look into, as part
Definitely.
of its work.
That's going to be a big question as to what happens with
Yeah,
that.
if they have a short-term lease and they're gonna relocate or build a new post office, then, that might change the use of that spot if the rest of the land opens up,
Right.
so.
Bill? Any questions? Lisa?
No.
Bill?
Yeah, just
Sure.
one I should have asked Mr. Bacuzzo earlier, but do you commit now to getting this project done with absolutely no cost to the taxpayer? I mean, if it comes from the state, it's going to come from the taxpayer, so we'll all have to pay pennies, but I'm
Right.
talking dollars. Do you commit now before us that whatever it takes to get this done, it won't be a hit to the taxpayer? We won't have to ask for an override. We won't have to ask for the taxpayers for any additional funds to pull this off?
Yeah, I'm a taxpayer and a resident as well, so obviously, if there's no hit to us, great, I have no problem with my taxes. I think the town provides a lot of services for the money, especially compared to where I came from. But, certainly I think it should be a goal of the committee, but I think it's way too early to know that, if that could be done at this point. If it comes down to that, that money has to be spent and it's not available, then maybe we have to look at other options. And I'm not that familiar with the state, I've worked with the state government on my professional job, but, I know they can be drawn out and long to deal with at times. Perhaps there's grants available, perhaps they would donate the property to the town, certainly questions that could be asked, but, I understand your point, but I think, I don't know how much you guys know about it, and probably much more than the rest of us do, but I think it's too early to make that kind of a commitment. Certainly would be a goal. I don't know, it should be one of the goals of the committee, but can you say 100% now that we couldn't spend, there's no money to be spent? I, don't know much about it at this point. But I definitely think it should be a goal. I mean, certainly we don't want to spend more money than we need to, especially where there's so many other uses. I'm sure the town has a lot of other uses for its available funds, so.
That's exactly where I'm going.
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree. There's so many good things that can be done and that are being done, but,
And things that absolutely need to be done.
oh, yeah, I'm sure there are things, and, yeah, this is almost one of those, I agree with you. This is one of those this would be a nice to do kind of a project, but I'm sure there are things that are, a higher priority. Whether it's, roads, whether it's public safety, schools, I mean, there's a lot of things the town needs to supply, so, But, again, I think it's just, it needs to be looked into further. I think it's very early in the process.
Right, it just, my experience in business is when people tend to spend other people's money, they don't really look at it really hard.
Well, I agree. I'm a professional project manager, so I know all about budgets and finances, spending other people's money. Usually they're trying to spend mine, so
Good,
part of my
there you go.
day-to-day existence, so I understand where you're coming from.
Terrific, thank you. That's all I
set?
have.
Okay. Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion. And help me out on the last name.
Chickasaw.
Jim Chickatello.
Chickasaw, close enough. It's a mouthful, I know.
It's not bad. I'll make the motion and we appoint Jim to the Elm Square Committee through June 30th, 2018.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
That's it.
Good, thank you, appreciate it.
Next up, Mr. Dempsey.
Mike Dempsey, 33 Uptack Road.
I think we got additional document from you on everything you've done in the town, right?
Few of the things.
So a few of the things, so Groveland Conservation Commission, Groveland Community Preservation Committee, Town Clerk, Conservative IT Volunteer. We all know that you do a lot for the town, and you're involved in a lot of different projects. Anybody have any questions for Mike? Start down here, Bill.
Yeah, how have you not been named Volunteer of the Month is my first
I
question.
don't know, Bill, you gotta submit my name.
Is that a plug?
It might have been a veil plug, you know, we'll see what we can do about that. Next question is the same as I had for the last candidate. We've got some must-needs, some must-haves coming down the road. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So this project is going to cost money, and I just want to gauge your commitment to making sure that you find other people's money to get this done with and not the town's taxpayers.
Yeah.
We're going to be burned enough going down the road that it'd be a nice thing to have, but we've got a lot of things we must have first. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, you know, absolutely, there's money from many different pots, you know, and some monies can't be spent on general fund issues, and I don't think we are gonna have to spend any of our general fund and general taxes
Well, that's what I'm
revenue
counting on
this
you,
kind
to
of
know
thing.
whose pockets to reach
Yes,
into.
yes, yes.
Deep.
And, you know, we did that before. I'll give you an example. We bought Meadow Pond back in 2002. It was about 60 acres or so. The price we paid was $600,000. But when we were all done with the state kicking in, a couple of state agencies kicking in, and then private donations from grants and other organizations, it ended up costing the town of Groveland a total of $89,000. And so that's the kind of thing that I would commit to, is let's reduce the cost to Groveland to as little as possible. And I think it's just a matter of doing our homework.
Like zero?
Well, yes, zero would be great.
Zero's the number.
Zero's the goal.
Zero's the number.
Yes.
We, you know, Strawberry Field is still fresh in everyone's mind.
Well,
so-
yes. You know, again, there's different things. This is a lot smaller project, and it has high visibility. I think we can get a lot of people behind it.
I don't have to remind everybody the Big Dig started out as a small project too.
Yes.
And-
Yes.
Yes, and quickly ballooned, right? So,
Yeah, I wasn't involved in that one,
Hmm.
though.
I know, you would have kept the cost under 10 billion, I know.
Hopefully.
All set?
That's all I have.
Lisa?
Nothing, thank you.
Bill?
Mike,
Yes.
because you probably have the most knowledge in the town and what have you, do you see this committee, and I know a lot of people here from around town, do you see this committee having like a chairman, vice chairman, and that kind of stuff, or just a group of people sitting down at a round table and discussing it?
No, it'd be nice if we can get a chairman
Right.
And especially someone who maybe is not committed, who's new to this kind of thing.
Right.
And it seems like there's a few people that are on the list who would fall into that category, so I'd
Yeah.
hope that they'd be willing to chair the committee.
Okay. And I know that we had made a liaison here from the board, and we hope that, and I'm not trying to just direct everything to you, because other people here too, listen, and I would hope that we could, maybe in the first few meetings, you guys could get back to us through the liaison and tell us if there's gonna be a chair and all that kind of stuff. So we have some direction and what have you, which would be nice. And then the other thing would be, on cost, I think if everyone hangs out here a little bit later on, we're gonna be talking about, we had a meeting in Boston, and what the outcome of that meeting came, but, obviously, I would like to have no cost to the town, that's obviously our end goal, you know what I'm saying? And I know there's a lot of pots in town we can pull from and what have you, it definitely is an eyesore downtown, it should be cleaned up, I'm 100% on board with that, but if we can just go forward and have the committee, everyone's listening, go forward and keep in mind to make this as cost efficient toward the town. We have a lot of big purchases, we have the high school coming up, you know, on and on and on. So we really need to be cautious for that. And I think that would, again, to sell this project's gonna go a long way. If we can push this down the road, letting the town people realize that it's not gonna burden them too much, I think we'll get it done.
Right, absolutely.
That's all I have to say. Ed?
Not at this time. Thank you.
For me, it's obviously cost is
Yeah.
the major thing. But second to that is a major component of this committee is to work well with this Board of Selectmen. You know, if there's personnel or reasons why people can't work well together, then there's no reason to appoint people to a board. So, and I think that, you know, given some of the stuff that I've talked to you about in the past, I think that that's not gonna be a problem. So I'm just saying that that's
Yeah.
one of the major components of this committee is to work with
Yes.
us to get something done and
No,
not,
I like the idea that you have a direct liaison, so there's a definite link built into the process, which
Yes.
is good.
And I would hope that we would have meeting minutes that we could provide to the board
Yeah.
after each meeting, so that would
Yeah.
be my goal.
okay, anybody want to make a motion?
I make a motion that we appoint Mike Dempsey to the Elm Square Committee through June 30th of 2018.
You got a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Thanks, Mike. Next up, we have Ms. Gorski.
Good evening. Betty Gorski, 182 Washington Street.
Thank you for coming. Anybody have any questions? Ed, we'll start down there.
No, I don't.
Bill?
Nope. I know you're a past selectwoman of the town of Groveland, and the only thing I ask is I hope you'd use your past ability to run a board, chair a board, whatever, and, you know, work and bring your knowledge to help bring the
Right.
project forward.
Thank you. I know you're concerned about the makeup of the committee. I'm confident that we'll have a chair and a vice chair and a note taker. So anything we're discussing or anyone we're meeting with, we'll get that information back to you. And to rest assured, I'm a conservative former select woman, so I know about tax dollars, and every dime that we spend comes out of somebody's pocket. So we'll do our best. We have a wealth of information here, people that know people in state government, that we can knock on somebody's door or make a phone call and get this project going. I was here at the inception, 15 years on the Board of Selectmen, when Elm Park was rehabbed, made over. This is the last piece of the puzzle. So when the bridge was done, we were hoping the state would take more of that land. They only took what they needed. So here we are, trying to make the center of town look as beautiful as it can be. Any
All set, Joe?
questions?
Everybody-
Lisa?
All set.
Bill?
You know, one quick question. You just gave me the vision of the center of town. and I'm thinking across the street, directly across the street
From,
from that gas station we're talking about. If
Right.
you were to go straight across.
right across
Are
to
there
the
any
bridge.
plans for that? I mean, I know this is kind of off the subject, so maybe, I don't know.
On the
just
other
go-
side of the bridge you're talking, or the other side of the street?
Yeah, you know, it just appears to me as I'm driving by, it's kind of like the same thing. But that's a subject to be addressed later, I guess.
Well, be assured, we'll let you know everything we're doing. Even when we run into an obstacle.
Yeah, I imagine there'll be more than one. Yeah, I hope you know people with money. Those are the people we really want to talk to.
Well, I can't help you out there.
Yeah, well, that's what we're hoping. How's Nolan, by the way?
He's great.
Okay, great.
Down
That's
at
all.
middle school, enjoying it. Asked him if he missed Bagnell. He said, no way, Nana. He's a big guy now.
There you go. That's all for now.
All set?
Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. We appoint Betty Gorski to the Elm Park Committee through June 30th, 2018.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next up, Ms. Prunier.
Chair, can we back up 1 second? On the original, there was a Ms. Lauren King. Did she?
She,
And Kathleen
she
Pernier,
emailed,
7 Harvard Road.
Oops, just a second, Kathy.
she emailed last night and withdrew.
Okay.
She watched the last meeting and saw there were more candidates than positions. And where she was appointed at our last meeting to the Recreation Committee, she thought it was best to step aside and let someone else fill in.
We just want to understand the difference.
All
But
set?
Thank you. Yes, sir.
All right, anybody have any questions for Kathy? Ed, we'll sit down there.
No.
Bill?
No, I was just, my only question to you would be, you think that you could be able to go down and, you know, head up this thing, or, you know, work on the committee, no problem, what have you, and,
I wouldn't commit to heading it up. mean,
I don't mean, I shouldn't have said it that way, I meant,
Absolutely,
okay,
absolutely.
all right. And, again, like we've been saying, dollars and,
Oh, absolutely.
and try to get a committee together that would have, you know, all the members that
Right.
we need to have, chair, and as
I've
someone
spent
spoke about taking notes.
Many years in fundraising for the library and working within a budget that's very, very limited, applying for state aid and so on and so forth. And we make it, we do it, so.
Okay, thank you.
Lisa?
Nothing?
Bill?
Do you feel it'll take away from your tasks as, with the library trustee?
I'm
too?
sorry, I can't hear you.
Do you feel that they will take away from your
Not at
time
all.
with the
No,
library?
I've
I know
worked
you're
at, community
deeply,
preservation. I'm
deeply
sorry?
involved. I know you're deeply involved in the library. I just don't know if it'll, if you,
No, I wouldn't offer my time if I wasn't able to commit.
and you're also committed to making sure that we don't pay anything, right? Finding other
I'm
people's
committed to
money.
doing my very best.
There you go.
I don't make promises I may not be able to keep, but I promise that that's the ultimate goal. And there were many ideas thrown out at an open meeting that was great things to look into.
I just want to get you all on record to say we're going to try.
Do my
Zero.
very best,
Yeah.
yes.
All set?
All good.
For now? As I mentioned to Mike, a major part of this committee is to work closely with the Board of Selectmen. And from my own opinion, there's been a history of accusations from you towards certain members of this board and the board as a whole. So I don't think that that collaboration will be there going forward with that kind of history. So I'm talking.
Point of order. I don't think this is appropriate. This is a violation of
I'm
executive.
talking, you're out. No, it isn't.
Yes,
We're
it is.
discussing the capability of someone to serve on a committee.
You're making allegations.
No, I'm not. Those are proven. So I will not be voting in the affirmative. So would someone like to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. We appoint Kathy Prunier to the Elm Square Committee through June 30th, 2018.
I second that motion.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
All those opposed? The opposed have it.
Okay, Thank
So
you for
respectfully,
consideration.
I would like to speak on this. I think that in view of some correspondence that I've seen, that I view as a violation of the open meeting, I don't think it's appropriate for either you or Mr. Dunn to have voted on that matter. I think that I don't think that you're being objective.
Okay, so noted. Mr. Stark?
Greg Stark, 1 Off King Way, Groveland.
I've talked with Greg several times about the downtown stuff, as well as the bridge and, I think, Elm Park. So I find to have him a lot of knowledge on everything in downtown. So anybody have any questions? Bill?
Greg, you've had a lot of past history there. There was plans you had brought in and what have you. You know, obviously, I'm sure you'll bring those forward. You had a lot of the history with the gas station and the post office and also the insurance company as far as the spaces and deeding and all that. So I'm sure you'll bring all that knowledge to that board as well.
Absolutely.
And I know the lady that owns that station, in the past had a number out there that she wanted to get for the station, dollar-wise and what have you. So I'm sure you were very friendly with her as well. And hopefully, if it became into negotiation, you could bring that knowledge in there as well to the committee as well.
Well, I'm friendly with her. I mean, I have no connection to her.
Right.
And
The conversations you've had in the past or whatever.
I mean, it's good to have a good relationship with somebody, but
Right.
that's all it is.
Right.
You know, I don't have any, she hasn't confided with me numbers or anything like that. It's not what has
I'm-
happened to date.
Yeah, I'm just speaking your past knowledge. of-
Right.
That's it.
Right.
I know this is passionate to you to get this project done, and I know you had been before us before to get it done, so we're here now, and hopefully we can move the thing forward or whatever.
Right.
And that would be good to, and
Well, it was just a long road with the Bridge and Square Committee. I mean, it was 15-plus years, and of course, you gain a lot of knowledge, and we
Yep.
made a lot of trips into Boston, and there was a lot to learn. And, you know, as it was said, it seems like the project isn't quite complete. Obviously, the state didn't take it through eminent domain, and it just seems like the last part of the puzzle that really didn't get finished.
Ed?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you for stepping up.
Nothing.
Bill?
Yes, Bill, I understand.
No money.
No money.
No money, no, I've known Greg for quite a while. Our boys grew up together, so I've known him on a personal level, and I find Mr. Stark to be a man of incredible honor and integrity, and I think the committee will benefit from your years of being over there and your experience, so glad to have you on board.
Thank you, Bill.
And yeah, spend no money.
I got it.
Do you have any, I think I asked you a while back, any additional documents on the town plans? Or maybe it was Mike Dempsey. You guys had some plans on what was
So
scheduled to be done versus what was actually
there was
done?
nothing scheduled to be done. The town actually had made a set of plans, had appropriated money to have plans made.
Right.
And they should be in the other room. I mean, I have a copy of them, but there should be a copy in the selectman's office. But there was never anything that was going to be done. It all still had to be approved or whatever. It's just that the reason those original documents were made were because in the early stages of the bridge being built, the town had no idea what was going to happen with that land. They did not know whether or not there was going to be eminent domain taking over. And if it did, then there was potential talk of the town being able to buy it from the state for a smaller amount of money. And if so, they needed a plan to, you know, what were they going to do with the land?
Right.
So it was just for the purpose of potential future use at the time.
Yeah, I found the layout of the possible
Right.
parking spots, but, I mean, it's open for whatever we can.
Totally open.
Okay, good. Anybody have anything else? No? Anybody want to make a motion?
Make a motion, we appoint Mr. Stark to the Elm Square Committee through June 30th, 2018.
Maybe a second?
I'll
I'll
second, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, no, go ahead.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay?
Now you can stop by my house on the way down and around to talk business. Ms. Walsh? I know you got crutches. Do you want to?
Can we bring her, can we bring her?
Yeah, can we bring her a microphone? Oh, do you? All right, as long as it's all right with you.
Claire Walsh, 478 Main Street, Groveland.
Also someone else who volunteers a lot for the town and is involved in many projects. Bill, start down that end.
What happened?
I had to have a hip replacement.
Okay,
It's a long story, but
take it easy anyways.
it's so much better than the other one now. I have to have both done.
Really?
This one saved like 6 months. It's arthritis, and I worked in a hospital for 47 years, so those floors are all cement, and we move. So,
That's why
I
you
mean, that was
always wear
part
those
of it,
funny
you know,
shoes.
and, I'm sorry?
That's why you wear those shoes.
Yeah. This is part of it, plus, you know, family history.
Yeah, well, hopefully it all works out well.
Thank you.
Anything else, Bill?
No, I'm familiar with Mrs. Walsh's exploits through time. She's a legend, I guess.
Lisa?
Nothing, thank you.
Bill? Wow, she's getting a phone call.
Sorry.
The only thing that I would say to you, Claire, is I know you've done a lot for the town of Groveland. I know you've done in the historic buildings in Groveland and what have you. And I would hope that going forward with this project, you'd bring your historic background, anything that would go on down there that could be tied into that historically or whatever.
Absolutely.
I think that would be great.
Absolutely.
And I know how you are. I don't even have to ask the question about money. I know you're conservative and you wouldn't,
I can be quite frugal.
right. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Hope you get well.
Thank you.
Ed?
I'm all set.
Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we appoint Claire Walsh to the Elm Square Committee.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Thanks, Claire.
Thank you.
Moving on to discussion and possible vote, we have streetlight requests by Joseph and Jennifer Vasapali for Webster Way, Center Street intersection. Are they here? Can you go up to the podium, please?
Before we start this, can I just say one quick thing?
Sure.
We have a committee now that has 6. Should we entertain an odd number? If they're gonna end up having a vote, we now have 6. Shouldn't we have an odd number on that committee? So maybe we should have someone else come forward or whatever?
So it is recommended to have an odd number of
Right,
committee members.
right.
It's up to you how you want to proceed.
Well, I would like to see an odd number.
Maybe Ms. King, one that originally withdrew, is an option. If
Well,
she-
the original was for number 7, right? To have 7 total?
Right. We didn't appoint 1, so we're down to 6.
Yep.
So really,
Yeah.
maybe
So either
Lisa,
if someone else has an interest, or,
or maybe Lisa, could you see if there's anyone else out there that would wanna put their name in?
So I felt like last meeting, I was told that I shouldn't be doing that, so I think that, from my understanding, that's Denise's role.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
yeah, I can put it, it's still on the website. I never took it down, so I can just put it back on the front page to see if anyone's interested.
Okay.
Well, would Ms. King be interested now that there's,
I can certainly reach out to her. I don't know.
you know what I mean?
Sorry, Joseph, you're up.
Hi.
So I read through some of the information, so am I thinking where this street corner is, it is pretty dark,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
And I guess the concern is not only because it's dark, but also during bus hours when kids are out there waiting and getting off the bus. and-
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's coming in from Middle Street, right where Center Street starts in Groveland,
Right,
and that's a
you know, everybody speeds up that hill, doesn't see the intersection, goes right by it.
Right.
You know,
Was there ever a light there and it's out?
No.
Or there was nothing?
there was never, no, there's no street lights for about a half a mile
Really?
down. Yeah, the whole street, I think there might be one light where they just put the new houses.
And was this something that's been on your mind for a while?
Yeah, yes. I'm in the business of doing electrical work, so I was proposing to donate a light. We had a project similar to, you know, municipality.
Right.
And I figured, you know, to help the town out. At the time, when I got the light, the town wasn't doing the LED retrofits. And now, you know,
Now it
town's
is,
going to
right.
it.
Go ahead, Denise.
So just a couple things on this. So yes, as I
Yeah.
said in my message
Yes.
to you, we appreciate you wanting to donate a light, but the light department cannot accept that. They have their own lights to install. So the board knows the cost of adding a new light is only $42 a year for approximately the next 5 years. Then it will drop down to about $16 because of the LED. And I did speak with the general manager of the light department, and he actually fully supports the need for a light at that location. But it comes to the Board of Selectmen to approve because we pay the electric bill.
Okay. I mean, from my perspective, it's an easy no-brainer, right?
Sure. Safety.
Town should put a
Biggest
light
thing
there.
is safety.
Yeah, at least one.
Right.
But we'll open it up for discussion.
Yeah, I mean, leading into that intersection, that's a pretty hard S-turn there.
Right.
And there's no signal that even tells you that it's a bad curve coming up or
Right.
anything from that side of town.
Right, okay. Lisa, you have any questions?
Yeah, so I wondered what the total cost is, and does that come out of enterprise funds with the electric department, or does it come out of town?
So there would be no cost to install it according to the general manager. So the only cost to us is the $42 in usage a year.
Okay, so we don't even pay for the post or anything?
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
I'm assuming that there's multiple telephone poles there?
It's a telephone pole, it would be a telephone pole mount.
Okay. Bill?
So the total cost is just $43 a year for the next 5 years?
Each year for the next 5 years,
Then it goes
yes.
down to 16.
Yes.
16?
16, approximately,
And per light?
yes.
And there's no other cost to the town?
Nope.
Whether they have to put up a pole or not?
They don't have to put up a pole.
No, I
There
think
is a
there's
pole
poles
and it's
there.
numbered, so they will just install the light.
But there's some sections in that street that could use, like you said,
There's
maybe a
just
couple,
along
right?
that, yeah, along that roadway.
I mean, if there's no other cost but $42 to the town, should we look into, while we're there, you know, maybe put in
Two or
what's
three of them?
needed?
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Certainly.
If you're down that road, I mean, you know, what the heck?
I mean, I've been down that road at night. It's
dark.
It's dark,
Yeah.
right.
I've got the
Especially
high
that
beams
corner.
on.
Right.
I'm surprised no one else.
And you're right.
Yeah.
In the morning, you know, the kids are going out for the
Yes.
7 o'clock bus, it is
Yep.
gonna get really dark out there.
Right.
So, you all set?
Uh,
Do you want, well, I mean, we'll have some discussion, but, I mean, we can either vote to approve the one light or vote to approve multiple lights, depending on what we wanna do.
Yeah, and we would have to get the poll numbers and things like that before you're actually voting on the other ones. So you need to vote on it by the poll number. That's what the light department needs, so.
So tonight we
have
can vote on
poll
the
number,
one.
Yes.
And if we wanna revisit this at the next meeting with the poll numbers, we can re-vote on
Yep.
adding 1 or 2 more.
Yep.
Okay. Ed, anything?
No, but it just seems like it makes sense to me. Yeah,
Okay.
Thanks for bringing it to the attention.
Sure, thank you.
I don't think any dollar amount should come to the safety of our children, so I'm 100% on board with it. And definitely, I think if we can make a motion to get this one taken care of, and then possibly maybe get some poll numbers and talk to the head of light and see if they can add a few more in that. I know exactly what you're
Yep.
talking. I plowed that road for years
Right.
for the town, and I've seen the truck go off that embankment one
Right.
night, so yeah.
Sure.
And I think there's a lot of new housing going in that area now.
Exactly,
And it really
yeah.
we should probably start at 7 Star Road and have the light department start there and go to the West Newbury line, because there's tons of new houses
Right,
in there now.
right. Yeah, it's definitely increasing
Yeah.
traffic. Yep.
So,
So what we'll do, we'll vote on this one,
Sure.
and then if you don't mind, or maybe
Yep.
the electric department can get us the other poll numbers that are on that street, and try and figure out where would be the best placement if we're gonna add any additional ones.
I can talk to the light department and see,
What their
based on their knowledge,
recommendations.
what they would recommend.
Okay,
Right.
okay. Anybody wanna make a motion on
So
this?
can I make a motion
Yep.
that we install, we approve the installation of this street light immediately? Poll number
3-191.
3-191.
Get a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. On to VC Park Property and Liability Insurance. Mike, are you talking to us again, or are we just?
Well, may I start
Yes.
the discussion on it? So Mike, I think I informed you back in June. The very end of June, we were notified by our municipal insurance carrier that, given the situation at VZ Park with all of the different activities and things that go on, function hall, a gourmet or a chef's kitchen, residential properties, businesses, et cetera, they would no longer be covering VZ Park as of July 1st. We scrambled for a few days. The insurance company got us a very expensive policy through Lloyd's of London effective July 1st.
What was the cost of that policy?
The cost
new
was about
policy?
13,000, I think, a year.
Sorry, what was the cost of the old policy?
So, let me continue, and I'll answer that question in a moment. So, they got us this policy to take effect literally in days. With the policy, we did have the ability to cancel after 90 days. We had to, once we signed up, we had to stay in the policy for 90 days. That ended September 30th. So for the last 3 months, Mike, Claire Walsh, members of the Conservation Commission, our insurance carrier, or our insurance agent have been actively working to try and find a replacement policy. Something with better coverage and more affordable than what we were offered initially. So, again, down to the wire, last week, we got a new policy through Seneca Insurance, which, when all said and done, I think it's about 10 or 11,000 with the liability and the property. Actually covers more than the Lloyd's of London policy, and it covers the full liability. So part of the problem is the cost. We are budgeted very specifically because we get our property and liability insurance estimate in right before the budget's set. I paid for the initial Lloyd's of London policy and the first payment, which has been approximately $2,300. Because the way our previous insurance plan was set up and the belief of some in the town before me, that VZ Park was to have demolition coverage only, we had very minimal coverage on those buildings. So there was pretty much only coverage to remove debris if it was knocked down. We got the fortunate situation that when the roof was damaged in the 2015 ice winter, our overall umbrella policy covered it. That was a $200 and some odd thousand claim, which is what started the investigation by Maya, our insurance company, into why are we paying rental? They had to put the family that was living in there in a hotel for several months, and so that's what started the whole process. So I have explained to Mike that I will need to put this before the board because we don't have we're already in a deficit in this account by $3,500 because of some additional cost with this. It cost us $2,600 for the liability coverage and then $2,300 for this new Lloyd's of London. So I've said to him, in order to continue to deficit spend and pay this additional money, I need the board's approval. It will require either a reserve fund transfer or a transfer at town meeting to cover these costs.
What is, okay, go.
Wasn't BC Park supposed to be self-sustaining and running? Wasn't that the program that it was set up and purchased by?
No, not really. That's what some have said, but, you know, I don't think that that's documented anywhere, unfortunately. But, you know, pretty much VZ Park is self-sustaining. The only things that the town does are the same things that they do for other town buildings, the insurance and the snow plowing and cutting the grass. Everything else is covered by the revolving fund.
For the old policy, who was paying the old policy? Do we know?
I think
The
Denise
town
can
was, but
explain it.
again, it was minimal. So when we canceled it, so my initial question when they told us we were being canceled was, well, what are we gonna save? And it
Right.
was literally nothing, because it was such a minimal piece. It was way undervalued. There was a whole bunch of issues with the former policy specific to VZ Park.
And did you say what the cost of the first policy was before it was expired or revoked?
No,
or
because
whatever?
it's part of our whole general policy
So
at
it just looped into it, okay.
$145,000, yep.
So the whole insurance for all the property the town owns is 45,000?
145,000.
145,000.
For liability and property and casualty, and that includes a workers' comp component. That's all of our insurance, other than health.
And this is gonna add another 10 to that?
Well, we've already spent out 3,500, so yes, it'll be an additional, I think it comes out to be 11,000 actually, when we add the liability cost in.
And, sorry, and then, do we have an alternative plan if this?
No.
Doesn't,
So we obviously need coverage. So I did sign the policy because it was better than the temporary policy. So a couple of things also. So the Lloyd's of London policy was a non-admitted plan, which means if Lloyd's of London were to go under, we have no recourse, the state can't step in and help us, we're sort of lost and we're stuck. And that's because of the risk involved with the components at VZ Park. We could not, at the time, we could not get an admitted plan. So that's one of the benefits of this plan, is it is admitted, which means we have additional coverage if something should happen to Seneca Insurance. We have state support, we have other alternatives to access. So it is a much better plan than the Lloyd's of London plan that we were given on the 11th hour, but and it probably is just as good, it probably rivals, maybe even better than our municipal plan for that alone, just because the municipal plan doesn't cover normally residential properties and things like that. So this is more specialized to handle really what VZ Park does.
go ahead, Bill.
So, you've answered a couple of my questions already, so we don't have an actual cost for that property in the prior policy. So going forward, we know we need to come up with X amount of dollars more, we're not budgeted for it. Have anyone asked the VC Park Committee, whatever, can they afford to kick in to pay for this?
You can ask Mike. I mean, we've talked about it in the past, and really it was no, which is why I'm bringing it to this board, but you can ask Mike.
I wish I could say yes, and not even be here asking you to do it. But unfortunately, this is an 11, just like for the town budget, it's an $11,000 new item that's being stuck on the plate now, so it isn't possible today to pay it. I don't know, in the future what we could do about it, but certainly it would be difficult to just come up with that kind of money on a short notice.
Go ahead.
I am, as you stated, Mike, I don't know, I know it was some time ago, but I remember I lived here in town when they purchased that property, and I do remember the conversation was that property was not to cost the town people any money. I think over the years, it has revolved into cost, and we've accepted it, we've kicked in money, whatever. And I know you guys, take a lot of that burden yourself up there and try to make as much money as you can. And I think this kind of revolves back onto the reason the policy went up is because of now what that property has evolved into. It's involved into rental properties, making money, weddings, or whatever. So, I guess, I don't know, I guess I'm in a hard spot myself because it's a burden on the town. Can we afford it? Yeah, no, we're gonna have to do an override or whatever for it, find the money, like you would have to find the money, or your committee would have to find the money. So, me personally, I like to try and split it with you or something to try and see if you guys can help us out somehow. Maybe not take the whole burden, but, I mean, I think it's gonna be a better sell to go back to the town people and say, well, they're willing to help out. I mean, you're making the money on the rents, you're making the money on the weddings, and maybe it's not a lot of money, probably. I guess it sounds like you're not making a lot to pay for this, so.
No, I mean, there's no excess.
Right.
It's just,
Right.
similar to what you have.
Is, does that 10 or 11,000, does that have to be paid up front?
No, so I did sign up for a financing agreement. We have to come up with like $3,400 as soon as possible, and then we can pay it in installments.
In monthly installments?
To be honest, I don't know if it was monthly or quarterly, I just got it faxed to me this afternoon, so, but we can pay it in installments, which, you know, there was no cost of financing it, but if the town's paying for it, then I would assume I would rather just pay it all up front. So I wouldn't need to finance it if we were covering the cost.
Lisa?
So the 145,000 that is the town's policy, as a result of not having VZ Park, is that reduced at all? So that doesn't change at all?
Correct.
And is there an indication of why they wouldn't cover VC Park anymore?
Yep. So it's kind of what I went through, given the 2015 claim. So that started their investigation. They actually came here, we did a walkthrough with Mike at the end of May, I think. And then when they saw in the claim, a big part of the claim was relocating the family that's living there to a Homewood Suites, if you will, with like a kitchen and things like that.
Okay.
They had to pay for that for several months. And then when they came up here, it was just because it's such a hodgepodge of different activities, businesses, rentals. The function hall is sort of a different component altogether. Then there's the kitchen. And so the municipal plan just didn't have the ability to cover all of those items. They were anyways, they've done away with any residential properties. So anyways, from the beginning, there's no residential property. So that's what sort of started the whole thing.
Bill? Anything?
Yeah, obviously, it's not self-sustaining, it's not even making money, or you would have money from these incomes you'd have money in the piggy bank to pay for this. What's your plans to recoup these costs going forward? The town can't absorb this. I mean, you've got to pass them along in either higher fees to the rental units, higher fees to the function hall. I mean, what's the plan to?
I
pay
can't
for
tell you
this?
what the plan is, because I don't, I've only been presented this recently to the problem, and some of it is gonna be what the town says. We were never asked to pay any money for insurance, so it just wasn't included in what we pay for.
Didn't anybody in the town understand that somebody had to insure that for something?
Yeah,
Well, so we had the ability that the buildings themselves had little to no coverage, but because it's a municipal plan, our total liability will cover any one of our structures. So they may not have had individual coverage on the buildings, but our overall umbrella covers everything, which is why we were able to cover the $200 and some odd thousand claim. So VZ itself didn't have that much insurance, but our whole policy did.
What's the ramifications if we don't pay it?
Well, I think that any insurance company is going to be upset if the town isn't insuring some of its property. I don't
It's a
know.
liability,
I
basically.
don't know
huge
what the
liability.
implications are.
The liability being the folks that are living there, or the
Well,
liability being the function
somebody
hall?
comes up and falls or whatever,
Right, really anything, any liability up there, whether it's someone, falling, God forbid there's a fire or a tree falls on it or anything like that, nothing would be covered if this policy, because it is now no longer covered on our umbrella policy.
Right, but it's 10 or 11 this year, it's 13, 14 next year, it's 16, 17 the year after. Where does this money come from? I don't know either. I mean,
Well, I would say that we need to involve the townspeople in discussing, is this important to them? And, what it is today, I think there should be some input from townspeople as to whether this is something that they value, and if it's not, then we need to revisit, what we would do with that property.
well, also, we need to find a way to pass on these costs to the people that are benefiting from it. If you rent the hall, there should be some portion we pass on to that. If you're renting a unit, there should be some portion that's passed along to that. I mean, you just can't keep absorbing the costs without passing some of it through. There's got to be a way or a plan to recoup some of this, and it's just going to keep escalating. It's not going to stay the same 10 or 11 grand a year. We know that. That's a no-brainer.
What's that? No? Yeah? Lisa, how would you propose that we ask the town people their opinion on the property?
I think you could put it as an agenda item and ask for public comment.
Yeah. I don't know, I'm in a hard spot, because I realize the liability of not doing anything, and I realize the
Well, I don't really think that the liability of not doing anything is an option right now. I mean, basically,
Right, but
if we
it's-
were going to do something, it would be looking at the property being placed for sale or something.
Right, I mean, I would have to say, if we're not covering the establishment, it needs to close. We can't have people up there on a town property without
Right,
insurance.
that's
So
what
that's
I
really
mean,
what your
it's-
options are. It's either we find a way to fund it, and I think really the issue is this year. Next year, we could propose it in the budget, work with the finance board to, add this into the regular general fund budget. It's really this year that we're now in a deficit,
Go
is
ahead.
my biggest issue.
So, oh, you want to go?
No, go ahead.
Okay,
Go ahead.
so the short and the long of it, you gotta put the fire out first. So to put the fire out first is to try and get it insured, to make it safe, so if someone goes up there, trips, we don't have a liability situation.
Which we have. We now have insurance at a
okay.
lower cost than what we've
So we got that taken
have.
care of.
Yes.
Okay. The other part of it is we gotta find the money to pay for this, which it's not in this year's budget, so we're gonna have to either shortfall or find the money, okay? You just made a statement that we could possibly do this in payments. Is there any way you could do a couple payments from now till the end of the year to help us that way? If it's maybe talk to the committee, I'm not asking you
Yeah,
to.
no, certainly, I would say, I can work with Denise,
Okay,
and we'll try to figure out something for this year, between the town and us. As I said, we're in the same situation where we don't have any way to really easily raise the money quickly, let me put it that way. But, as Bill mentioned, perhaps we can go back and look at our renters or whatever and see long-term what would be the solution.
Right.
So certainly, I think this year that we could work something out. And then in future years, we'd have to decide, how do we want to do it? And the normal way would be to put it in to the budget, and then it gets looked at and argued about and everything else. So hopefully, we could do that.
so, second part of my thing, what I was gonna ask is, if
Oh, sorry, I was just letting him know that I want to speak next.
Mike could go back to the committee, talk to the committee, have the conversation we had tonight, come
Yes.
back before us, you might be able to say we can kick in X amount of dollars this year toward it, or maybe you can't do it in the next 2 months, but then toward the end of the year, you can kick in some money toward it.
Right.
And then you can turn around and tell the people, I'm sure you have things booked that you can't go say, hey, listen, we're gonna go up $100, it's already booked, you're done, you can't, you know what I mean? But
Right.
going forward, you could maybe add more to a wedding or whatever to help us. And then we can have the conversation, we come into the new budget season with the finance board or whatever, and see how we're gonna either have you go up in some of your rates or whatever, we'll have that conversation down the road.
Yes.
But the fire's out, we've got coverage, you go back to the committee and hopefully come back to us and sit with us and say, I've talked to the committee, we can do this.
Ed?
Mike, with your tenants up there, do you require renter's insurance? from
Yes.
them? You do?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't see anything in the paperwork here on that.
No, they do.
They do
We
now.
didn't before, but that was a new requirement that Maya came up with, so we, as of July 1st, they all have it now.
That's in their lease?
Yes.
Okay,
All set?
that's all I have.
Lisa?
Is it ever viable, and I'm not versed on CPA funds, but with that being a historic property, is it ever appropriate to use CPA funds to pay for insurance for that?
No.
No.
Because you can't use it for operating expenses.
Okay. Thank you.
So, for the time being, we're all right, Denise? as far as insurance?
Yeah, so again, we have coverage. I just need the board to know that we are in a deficit in that account, and we will continue to be in a deficit. So,
Okay.
if the board is good with that until we figure out something with Mike, I can hold off requesting a reserve fund transfer, because that will take up the majority of our reserve fund with the finance board. And we can just hold it over until a special town meeting at the annual to figure out where we will get the money from. So as long as the board's comfortable with that, then we're covered and we can proceed.
Mike, do you think that you could come back for the next selectmen meeting and have some information for us?
Probably by the end of the month, October 30, I can give you an answer.
Does that work?
Yeah, I mean, we have, like I said, we have to do it anyways.
Okay.
So I will just, I will sign up for the financing agreement, and we'll make the first $3,500, $3,400 payment, the down payment. And then we can figure out, you know, if they're able to pay a month, and that, or one of the payments, that would be great. It would lessen what we'll need to transfer at town meeting.
So, do we need someone to make a motion on that?
Sure.
Anybody want to make a motion on that fact?
I'll make a
It's
motion.
your idea.
All right, I'll make a motion that we put the fire out, however you want to word that, pay the payment we need to pay, and we have the committee come back before us for an agenda item to discuss avenues to come up with the rest of the money and move forward. And before the next budget season, it's discussed, and if we have to talk to the finance board or whatever. Got all that, I guess? Sort through that mess?
So that will get us through the next 8 months till the next fiscal year
Yes.
jumps in.
Anyone want to try and second that?
Yeah, I'll second it. I'll second it.
All right. Any further discussion? Bill?
I think there's got to be a plan. You know, we got to have a better way. There's just got to be more fiscal responsibility here. Can't keep giving it away. And why should the taxpayer subsidize somebody's rental at function hall?
Well, that'll probably be part of the discussion next town meeting. But until then, we have to do something.
I agree. Got to do something now, but going forward, I mean, a one-time thing.
Yeah. Lisa? Any?
All set, thank you.
Okay, I have a second. All those in favor?
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have Lieutenant Governor meeting, August 29th recap. So I think Denise has most of that information, so whenever you're ready, Denise.
Well, I can just talk about, I think the question originally came up as how the meeting came about, or the date of the meeting, or something to that effect.
Well, actually, so I'm okay with that. I guess my question is, I think it's an honor for the lieutenant governor to come to town, and for there not to be an opportunity for other board members and even members of the community to be part of that meeting. I think that's the piece that I wanted to hear more about, particularly when the email from Scott Ahern indicated that there was also going to be a discussion of municipal matters.
Yep, and I agree with that. I got a call on that, as I think I told the board in an email. I got a call that Friday afternoon prior to her arrival, that she had a 45-minute window as she was driving from West Newbury to Haverhill and wanted to stop to discuss the community compact and the building department grant specifically. They had asked to meet with me because I am the one who applied for the grant. I applied for the initial community compact initiative, and I was the one to sign off on the building department grant. So I had told her, yes, they can certainly come by here. And I said, as a courtesy, I will extend to my current chairman and my prior chairman, who was the chairman at the time of signing that agreement, where it was a discussion of other municipal matters. We were not within, the town hall was closed, we were out, or within the 48 hours of her attending, and did not have an opportunity to post a meeting. Otherwise, I would have loved to have a larger meeting with the whole board present. So that's why it was scheduled so quickly. I communicated with him on my cell phone. When I saw his email looking to get in touch with me, I called, trying to figure out why the governor's office was calling me. And that's when it transpired. It was like 2 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, and she was driving by on Tuesday. And that was the only opportunity, that was the only window she was coming. So that was really the reason it took place.
And then secondly, sort of an overview of what took place on that at that meeting, and if there were municipal matters discussed, a debriefing to the rest of the board as to what those were.
Yeah, so I'll ask the chairman if he wants to discuss that.
Well, I mean, I know you have all the information, but one of the topics was, we talked about the downtown, the gas station and the post office and what we're trying to do and find some kind of avenue of how to pay for it or get state funds or what options are available that we might not have thought of. And she made a comment that maybe the rail trail might be able to fund part of it because it goes right by there. And there may be an option to dip into some of that with that construction or that kind of trail that's going through town and use that for a park or for a farmer's market or whatever, to be part of that rail trail process. So, after that, she put me in contact with, somebody at the State House who I asked to get information on as far as the rail trail information, and I didn't get anything back from him other than he sent a file to Greenbelt. And I asked to get a copy of the file, and I have not seen it, so. That was mostly the extent of the rail trail. I don't remember what the other topics were.
Yeah, we
Was-
talked about if there was any funding or possible funding for a senior center. She really didn't have any avenues other than what we spoke about when we had met with Senator Tarr earlier. But she did say she would think about it and see if there was anything we could do. We did talk about our community compact initiatives and the 3 items that we signed up for. We did touch upon the building department, so I did invite the building inspector, Sam, since we were discussing his grant. And we talked about some building department matters, something about building inspectors not in larger communities, not inspecting public facilities such as movie theaters, nightclubs, et cetera, and there's no enforcement at the state level. So that actually took up probably 20 minutes of the conversation because she was very eager to learn about those deficiencies. But really, it was so quick, she was in and out of here in pretty much no time.
And I think she stated that on her way out with Senator Tarr and Rep. Mira that they would stop down at the corner for the gas station, the post office, at least to take a look at what we're talking about, maybe even drive through it if they had
Yeah.
a second to see, the embankment on the backside, get a first-hand view of how the traffic flows around that, in and out, and then they were gonna head over to Haverhill.
April.
Haverhill.
Yeah, and I honestly, I don't know
I
if they
haven't
stopped.
heard anything about that either, yeah.
I don't know if they went, but Senator Tarr was eager to have her go and view the property, so.
Yep.
I don't know what their outcome was there.
Okay, yep.
So, yes, what we did talk about, and the big thing was in the meeting is when I had stated to them that I had driven through downtown Danvers and I saw a big group of people, some tents and a lot of equipment set up on the side of a rail trail. And I had said to the lieutenant governor, I said, wow, they had a lot going on down there and what have you. And she said, yeah, these kind of properties are big now on the rail trails, their parking lots, et cetera, and they make farmers markets and what have you, and they're throughout the state. So she was saying to lean on the rail trail money, that's the best route she could see. She did have a lot of people in the meeting we went to in Boston. A lot of people were there. She had a lot of, I shouldn't say he, Lieutenant Senator Tarr had a lot of people there. A lot of them said that they really couldn't help out, but once we got into the stage, the committee got going and what have you, you guys, to get a hold of one of us, maybe through Lisa or whatever, and Senator Tarr's gonna jump in, and he doesn't really want to hear from us until we have a committee together and we have a direction. He said it's been before him so many times, and he's at a point where he can't do anything at this point. This is what needs to happen. The committee's here, we have a liaison, we're gonna turn around and hear from you, and it's gonna go back to him, and he has committed to work however he can with us to get this project done, down at the station. But they had people from the waterways, they had people from
There's Greenbelt, there was Waterways,
Yeah,
there
there was like all kinds,
Trust for
tons of people in that
Public
room,
Lands.
and then, and like I said, the best route to go would be through they thought the rail trail. So-
Yes,
How does the rail trail tie into that?
Because I guess,
It
I'm
goes
not,
right by it.
well.
it's gonna go right by it.
But it's not at that stage, so,
Right.
No, it's not at that stage right now.
right, so that's an eventual,
So that's,
Across the bridge and come
the
up?
eventual hope is it will cross the street and come down Main Street. But in talking to Mike Davis, the chair of the Open Space and Trails Committee, that's actually not even on the table right now because they're focusing on the first part of the trail. So.
Yeah, it was phase 2 or 3.
Phase
that was,
two, and it was sort of like if the state paves 113 from the line to the square,
Yeah,
they have to widen the sidewalks, and then they would incorporate it as part of that. But, so I don't know that there's any active discussion on phase 2 at this point.
okay. Didn't we appropriate like $55,000 at town meeting for design on the second phase though, wasn't it? There was money they appropriated for another design phase or,
There may have been, but until, they're not even looking to implement it though at this point. So they
Okay.
may have designed it conceptually to see where it would go and what it would do.
well,
But they're not even, so
Okay.
according to the trail folks, they're not ready to discuss phase 2
Okay.
because it's down the line.
well, that's what I got out of the meeting, so maybe you guys can talk to the rail trail people, I don't know.
Ed, do you have anything? Did you have anything else, Bill? I'm sorry.
No, I wasn't I wasn't at the meeting,
I just didn't know if you had any questions.
no.
Did you have anything else, Bill?
No, just to, in that meeting, this is the meeting that Lieutenant Governor came, and we talked a little bit about the housing across the way. Kind of a recap of the meeting in Boston, they talked about
Well,
that.
right, the Council on Aging,
Council on
Senior
Aging.
Center, yep.
And, when we were in Boston, we talked about doing a, is it SDA loan or?
USDA.
USDA low interest
They
loan.
put the guy in charge with us, and that, once that project gets to the point where it's got a design on it and what have you, the architect is to work with them people in Boston that help. But I think Denise said we can borrow money a lot cheaper than we can get it from them. So that's pretty much what was talked about in there. And anyway, they'll be working with us any way they can help us to get that project moving as well. They'd be on board. So they made a commitment on that as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bill O'Neill, do you have any questions?
Good.
Okay. Moving on to votes of the board. We have the minutes from September 5th, 2017.
I have two.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
Hi,
Sorry.
sorry. I would respectfully ask the board to reconsider their vote on the appointment of Kathy Prunier to the Elm Square Committee.
Okay. You had a question on vote to the board?
Well, no, I had some amendments on the meeting minutes.
On the
of
minutes?
September 5th.
Can I just finish writing what Mike had asked before you get onto that, Lisa? Um, Okay, I'm ready.
Did you have a thing listed out for errors on that?
Yeah, but are you responding to this?
Well, we already voted, so,
Yeah, but I just asked you to reconsider.
and I stated we already voted.
I know, but you could take another vote, and I think there's some people in the room who want to speak about Kathy, and you might want to hear what they have to say, but that's up to you.
No, I think we already voted, so we'll move on.
So I would just respectfully state, I respect the chair's position on that, but respectfully, I don't agree. I would be willing to revote, and I'm just want to state that for the record.
Okay. So errors on the,
So with regard to the September 5th meeting minutes, under discussion and possible vote regarding the open meeting law complaint, I would like that to reflect that when I attempted to speak, I was not permitted to, and I was told that I was out of order. I would like that to be in the meeting minutes.
So is that a motion, you'd like to make a motion to amend that?
Is that how that works? It's a motion?
If you're changing the minutes, yes, you'd need to amend the minutes, unless it's just a typographical error.
Well, I would make a motion that that be added as it's information that actually took place.
So are you saying that the transcriber made an error?
Or an omission.
I'm sorry, Lisa, can you just reword how you said it to me?
What I stated was, I would like it to note that I attempted to speak and was not permitted to speak and was told that I was out of order. So I would make a motion to add that to the meeting minutes.
All right, we have a motion. Anybody want to second that?
Yes, I'll second it. I'll second that if it's an omission, sure.
Further discussion? I don't want to vote on this until I review the video of it to make sure that that's indeed accurate. That's my opinion.
So you can hold off on voting on, so do you want to make your second amendment or change? And then you
Yeah,
can
so we
vote on it
won't,
at the next
we
meeting?
won't vote on these meeting minutes right now?
Correct.
Okay.
If that's the chair's decision, yes.
Okay.
Well, I just want to make sure that I'm voting to approve something that I agree with. I don't know if that's accurate, going back to what I said 2 weeks ago.
Okay. And then secondly, under Selectmen's time, I would like it to note that I requested a future agenda item, so under the third paragraph, to discuss the process to access town council. So I was not as interested in the cost as much as the process.
Okay.
And I would make a motion that the word cost be changed to discuss the process.
So do you want us to second that motion and vote on it, or do you want to give us time to review the video so we can then?
That would
ensure
be fine also, if you want to review on that one as well.
Yep.
All right, so I'll just put this on your next agenda to vote on.
Okay, so that's for September 5th. Next up, we have the executive session minutes from September 5th, 2017 also. Anybody have any questions on that?
Yeah, I read those over. They look to be in order. I'll move for passage.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Yes, yes.
All right, moving on to old business. Previous agenda items that the chair does not reasonably anticipate will be discussed. Ed, we'll start with you.
No.
Bill Dunn?
I think it's under old business, I know we've talked about it. I would like to say that, how the, I guess it's the Garrison, what was that? I always forget the road, they just hot topped,
Gardner
Good.
Gardner.
or governors?
Governors.
Okay.
Okay.
That it looks done, it looks complete, it looks really nice, and I hope that the neighbors are happy and what have you, and I'd like to, put a shout out to the highway department for getting that project done, and I think it come out really well. I would also like to say that I see that there's a lot of hot topping going throughout the town, and I think it was well needed, and again, I would like to thank the road commission and the highway department for, addressing all those issues, and I think that's a good projects to bring the town in a good area for getting our roads up to snuff.
School Street, 97, is that tonight and?
Tonight,
And tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night, yeah.
Okay.
All night long.
All right.
Which I think that-
Should be starting, already started 7 PM.
Right, and I think that, from what I've heard, is that project should be done within the next 7 to 10 days.
Well, they have
The
some.
majority.
Yeah, they have some curbing and
Right.
sidewalk work and
Right.
planting and trees and things like that, but yes.
Good. Okay.
Yep.
Lisa, old business?
Two things. I provided a copy of an open meeting law ruling determination from the Attorney General's office that I thought provided some guidance, as I believe it was the last meeting, there was some discussion about what defines an emergency, and I think it's important that we're clear that an emergency is not just a weather-related, it's any, I think the language states that an emergency is defined as a sudden generally unexpected occurrence or set of circumstances demanding immediate action. And I just want to clarify that, moving forward, that that's what we would use as our definition. Secondly, I would respectfully request that personnel bylaws be placed on the agenda, and if it's not going to be placed on the agenda, if there's some time period of where it may be anticipated to be placed on the agenda.
Yes, I know that was something that we needed to discuss, so if we can get it on the next meeting's agenda, depending on what gets added to that, but we'll try and get that on to the next one.
Thank you.
I know that's gonna take several conversations anyways. Is that it?
That's it.
Bill O'Neill?
Yeah, it's been a while since we heard from Mr. Houghton with the rec committee. Do we have them?
No, but that's on the pending list as well. There's a bunch of items that you all have requested that I have a running list of, and I speak to the chair when we set the agenda. So he's still on there, as is, you asked for the summer program. I have that still pending.
Mr. Castaway,
Yep.
I know Jim Day decided he was going to kind of step back from that Bagnell Grounds Committee, so I don't know what that moved forward to. Speaking of Bagnell Grounds, I'd just like to say I've heard from a few people that have gone by there and just said just how great it looks. So I think a lot of that thanks should go to Chairman Dunn down there, who had spent countless hours volunteering himself and his men and equipment, and just wanted to pass that along to you. I'm not sure you're hearing that, but my boy goes there every day, and I'm hearing it a lot, how nice it looks. So that's, thank you very much.
Well, thank you. And I didn't do it to get praise, and I did it because my kids have been going here since 1982, and I would go back there and see the Dust Bowl that was back there and what have you, and I know my knowledge could make that, a good place and make it look good again, and I think I achieved it, and the people that volunteered their time as well down there with me achieved it, so I think it was a well-worth project, and I enjoyed doing it. Thank you.
I know why you did it, and I know your heart's in the right place, and I know you get your fair share of criticism, so I want to make sure you get your fair share of praise when it's due, so thank you from
I appreciate that.
from me and the kids. Appreciate it. Let's see. The bathrooms down the Pinus, we've made any progress there with filling those in?
Yeah, to be honest, I haven't even seen anyone from the highway department. As I said last meeting, they are just out
They're
paving.
just
I don't
out
even see
paving.
them come into the office, so I have not heard from them.
I think they
about
got that
any
last
updates.
push to try and get as much done before it really
Yeah.
gets cold,
Yeah.
which means other stuff has to suffer.
While they're paving, I wish they'd put some speed bumps down here. No, really. I mean, they fly through that parking lot. I think it'd cost a lot to put some speed bumps and, wreck people's cars a couple of times so they learn to slow down with all those kids running back and forth and riding their bicycles.
Maybe like temporary ones that we can remove in the winter for plowing, I don't know.
It'd be nice, something. That's it. Thank you,
That's it?
Mr. Chair.
I was gonna ask, did you have an update on the function of the well down there at the Pines? Is that working any better than it had been? I know we weren't getting the capacity that it was expected down there.
Well, the depth is the depth. Now we have to get a pump, and then deal with the irrigation and so on. So we can't use it until we have all the components in. The transformer was put in by the light department, and the next step is to go out to bid for a pump.
And how far down did we drill for this thing?
Oh, like 800 feet,
800 feet.
yes.
And there's a river right next door to it, and there's no water down there.
That would be correct. Well, there's water. We
Just
have
not enough
water.
of it?
And what I was told by the well company is the amount of water that we have, even though it's not what we would like, businesses and homeowners in this town would kill for that much water. So it will do exactly what we need it to do, just not at the volume. So it might take more zones.
That's what I mean, it was gonna get to.
Similar to what we had to do at Bagnell. We
Right.
drilled and drilled and drilled, and we didn't get the flow we wanted there, but you see how it's working out. We just added additional zones for the
So it's
springs.
usable, you just have to
Yep.
have more zones doing less time on each one, basically. Okay.
Yep.
All right, now we're moving on to correspondence. We have the minutes from September 18th, 2017. We have the letter from the Attorney General's Division of Open Government regarding the open meeting law complaint filed by Ann Brody on August 21st, 2017. And now we are on to Finance Director's time.
I have a few things tonight. So a reminder to everybody that this Saturday is the Pines Speedway reunion. That is at the Pines. The Light Department has asked me to remind residents, if you use automatic bill pay through your checking account, please make sure you have updated the address to reflect 944 Salem Street. Mail is no longer forwarding to the new location, and those automatic checks are going in limbo because they're not being returned or credited back to the bank accounts because it takes some time. So please, if you're using automatic bill pay through your checking account, for the Light Department, make sure it reflects 944 Salem Street. The town flu clinics start up next week. The first one is Tuesday, October 17th for residents over 60 years old. It's 9 to 11 a.m. in this room. The one after that, also for ages 60 and up, is Tuesday, October 24th, 9 to 11. And then for anyone 9 and older, we have two, Tuesday, November 7th and Tuesday, November 14th. Both of those are 5 to 7 p.m. It is not free. You would have to bring your insurance card and/or your Medicare card. So that is happening. Tomorrow morning, the Council on Aging is hosting a joint meeting with the police chief, the fire chief, regarding the process and procedures when someone calls 911. In the past, there have been some comments about the response when 911 is called. So they put together this program to inform mostly our seniors what happens, what to expect, how the calls work when someone dials 911. That is tomorrow at 10 a.m. in this room, and refreshments will be served. And lastly, Pumpkin Fest has been finalized. It will be Thursday, October 26th, from 5:30 to 7:30, with a rain date of Friday, October 27th. Information has been posted, working with the schools to get it out to all of the kids. Right now, we're hoping to have the staging up so that pumpkins can be dropped off anytime from October 19th through the 26th, and then we will have the festivities that night. And that's all I have for you.
Okay. Moving on to Selectmen time. Start with Ed.
Yeah, again, I'd like to ask for an agenda item to discuss, bringing back the resident comments with some parameters. I know it was a problem in the past, it became a bashing session, but maybe we could discuss that and set up some kind of parameters. So they don't have to, so they can just walk in without having to submit their names prior. You know, we're here to serve the people, and if the people can have a voice, I think that's a good thing.
I think that's still on the rolling agenda
Yes,
list.
it is.
Okay, so if we can get on to the next agenda, we'll do that. Bill?
Yeah, I would like to go through the chair and ask that a letter be sent to the Recreation Committee. I've asked before, I don't know if it was ever done. I'd like to find out what the process is going on down at the Pines with the scheduling of the repair work. I'd like to find out on the funding of raising money down there for the maintenance and what have you, so, and where they are on their plans and on their project. I would like to have another letter sent to the Bagnell, I don't know who it was, whoever was in there before us, Maintenance Committee, they called it, or whatever. I'd like to have another letter sent to them and find out if they are moving forward with this, what they were in before us with. I haven't heard from them, haven't seen them. We've got a lot of money invested over there. They wanted to raise money and take on this maintenance of this project. I hate to see the project go down the tubes because we don't have a committee in place.
Now,
Or
if I can just, so for that, just for this year, I did sign an agreement with a landscaping company to provide services this entire fiscal year. So with the remaining funds that we had, I think it was like $2,500, which we had talked about initially. So the rest of this fiscal year is covered with maintaining that property.
So
So
can
going
we
into
still
next-
have the letter go out to find out what they're gonna do? Because this year is gonna be all done in about a month or two, and then we're gonna turn around and have, spring's gonna roll around, we're gonna need to fertilize it and what have you. I know the highway department's committed to mowing it, but
But that, you're saying that that funding was good until next July?
Right, through the fiscal year, so through June 30th.
So we're good till spring.
okay.
Well,
All
So
right.
we're looking at fall. for-
right, so come June 30th, once we set our budget, hopefully we can talk about this when we set our budget to put money down there, because if not, come June 30th, we're not gonna have the money set aside because we used up the money from the project. So we really, if we're gonna have to have a committee raise the money, or if we're gonna, as a board, raise the money, whatever's easiest, I guess.
Is
Okay,
there,
So
is there a
I guess that's
committee
up
right
to you,
now?
Mike, to
I don't think so. I think that there was a group of volunteers that wanted to,
I think
Do
Mr.
something.
Day wanted to pull together something, but then he realized it might be, you know.
maybe
a
maybe
conflict
Karen
of his
LaBelle wanted
interest.
to do something.
So maybe she could be the person that the letter gets sent to?
I could send her something, but,
Well, the letter that he's
yeah, I,
recommending, and if there isn't a committee, she can let us know that. And if there's a desire to have a committee, maybe she can be the person that spearheads it or identifies who will.
yeah, I'll send her something to see if she's the point person, and
If
if
we-
not, who it would be.
If we're good for this year, I mean, that's
There's no
fine.
rush.
I'm good with that, but
Okay.
I'm just saying, all I'm, then
Plan
if we're
ahead.
gonna talk about this at a later date,
Yep.
to have the town take it out of the budget, I'm good with that too. I just wanna have something in place that we don't go forward and not have the fields groomed and the clay and the weed and the fertilizing and whatever. I mean, it's
Right.
probably not a lot of maintenance down there, but
Right, so, and I think my recommendation before was, we do have a lawn and grounds account on the general fund budget that has covered, town hall, Elm Park, that might be all it's covering right now. So we can certainly see where we stand with that and look at the overall maintenance of all those properties and see if it's something that we can add, Bagnell in with little cost, and just increase that line item a little bit. That's something we can certainly look at during budget time as well.
okay,
You good?
I'm good.
Lisa?
All set, thank you.
Bill?
Yeah, a couple of things. My youngest was recently, I don't know, got roughed up down at the Pines. Not by anybody in particular, but by a piece of equipment. I never really thought about it before, but there's these great big black tubes, and they're just unsecured. And I never thought about it, but then again, it's been a long time since I've been an 11-year-old boy. But they looked at it and said, hey, it looks like fun.
Let's get inside and roll down the hill.
Well, they did probably things I wasn't there, but things they clearly shouldn't have been doing, and a couple of them got hurt. Not bad, scrapes and bruises, but I would ask that if they, anybody that will leave equipment down there like that should secure it, and make sure that boys with active minds and lots of energy don't get into things they shouldn't be getting into because they're available to get into.
So could I ask, is that like football equipment or is it like,
No, it's a
Town-
Have
giant
you
black
seen that
conduit tubing.
Giant black tube. It probably stands about yay high from the
Okay.
ground.
I don't know what it's for, but
okay.
It's for getting inside and rolling down the hill with your
Yeah, my
friends.
son did that
It's-
too.
I'm telling you.
Okay.
But if it was chained to something, it's one of those things that you've got to put it out of people's mind to even think about doing it, so you secure it. It's just, if somebody had been injured really bad, good point, no need of it. Next point I wanted to make is, I ran into a fellow taxpayer in the store the other day and said, how's it going? He said, great. And then he said, disappointed with the board. Nothing seems to be getting done. That was his quote. And I said, what would you like to see get done? That's what I got too. So,
No
Yeah.
response?
pretty much, yeah, it was just that, pregnant pause. So I tried to remind him that I'm really bad at reading minds. I don't do a monkey survey, every week, so if there's something we're not getting done, you gotta tell us. you gotta tell me. I have no other way of knowing that something you want isn't getting done unless you let us know. I just don't know how else to say it. So I can empathize with that individual, and please, you've got my number, you know where I live, you know how to get in contact with me. If you think of something that you wanted to get done, let me know. We'll bring it up, we'll see what we can do. But other than that, you know, speak up or forever hold your peace. I don't know how else to say it. And that's about it. Thank you.
Okay. So, can we get a motion to adjourn at 8:06?
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 8:06.
Can I get a second?
Second?
All those in favor?